All right, so you want to dive into Marlon Brando, huh? Buckle up, Buttercup, because this dude was a goddamn hurricane of talent, controversy, and straight-up weirdness.
You think you know Brando? Think again. We're going deep.
We're talking about a guy who could make you weep on screen,
Yeah.
then piss off every director in Hollywood with his on-set antics.
Yeah, the guy was a total wild card, a loose cannon, but a brilliant one.
This deep dive is going to take us through Brando's crazy career, from his early days as this method-acting rebel to those legendary roles, and then his later interesting choices. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, we're going to get into all of it. The good, the bad, and the just plain bizarre.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Brando, the early years. Military school dropout, ditch digger. Then bam, he's in New York City studying acting. What the hell happened there?
He always had that rebel spirit, even as a kid. But acting, that was his calling. He lands in New York and studies with Stella Adler. She was a legend, a giant in the acting world.
So he's learning from the best, huh?
Adler taught the Stanislavski method, really getting inside the character's head, using your own experiences to make it real, raw.
Instead of just faking it, you're really feeling it.
Exactly. Brando ate that shit up. But here's the thing. He hated Lee Strasberg, another big name in method acting.
Oh, yeah?
Strasberg was all about emotional recall, digging up past trauma to bring out those emotions.
So you're telling me every time an actor had to cry on cue, they were reliving their childhood trauma? That's messed up.
Strasberg swore by it. Brando thought it was bullshit. He preferred to find the emotion organically, in the moment. Adler even said that during an exercise, everyone else freaked out about an imaginary bomb.
Yeah, imaginary bomb.
Yeah, it was an acting exercise. But Brando just sat there, cool as a cucumber, and acted like a chicken laying an egg.
What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
The dude was a goddamn chicken.
He always did things his own way, even if it made him look ridiculous.
That's classic Brando, all right. So we know he was a rebel from the start. But how did this guy go from playing a chicken to becoming a Broadway sensation?
A streetcar named Desire. That's where he blew everyone's minds. His Stanley Kowalski was raw, intense, totally different from that polished theatrical acting that everyone was used to.
So he was shaking things up.
He changed the game, brought a whole new level of realism to the stage. It was a goddamn revelation.
And that's what landed him in Hollywood.
Streetcar on film, boom. First Oscar nomination, now he's a serious actor, a contender. But it was the wild one that turned him into a full-blown icon.
Oh, yeah, the motorcycle gang leader. The ultimate rebel. Leather jacket, motorcycle, that nobody tells me what to do line.
That movie was supposed to be a warning about those kind of gangs, but it backfired big time. Sales of bikes and jackets went through the roof.
They tried to make a PSA against coolness and ended up making it even cooler.
But Brando wasn't just a one-trick pony. He could do it all. On the Waterfront, a gritty drama about union corruption. That's where he snagged his first Oscar.
That could have been a contender, right? Classic Brando.
A powerhouse performance. But behind the scenes, things were getting heated. He was clashing with the director, Elia Kazan.
What was the beef there?
Kazan was talented, no doubt, but he'd named names during the communist witch hunts. Made him a controversial figure, to say the least. Brando was pissed. They had a complicated relationship, to put it mildly.
So you've got these two titans of cinema making one of the most iconic films of all time, but there's this undercurrent of tension between them.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Brando hated his performance on the Waterfront. Thought he was a failure.
He wins an Oscar and thinks he sucked? The hell?
Even the greats have their insecurities, man. But then there's the whole difficult on-set reputation that follows him around.
Ah, yes. The Brando drama. We can't forget about that.
Yeah. Cue cards, weird demands, the whole 9 yards. Made life hell for everyone around him.
But was it just him being a lazy prick? Or was there something more to it?
Some called him lazy, but Brando claimed it was about finding the truth in the moment. Thought memorizing lines made his performance stale.
So he used cue cards to keep it fresh.
Said it helped him stay spontaneous.
I bet that pissed off his co-stars.
Oh, you know it did. Imagine trying to do a scene with Brando and he's got his lines taped to your forehead.
Wait, he actually did that?
During The Godfather, no less. Classic Brando. Doing shit his way no matter what.
But that kind of behavior catches up to you, man. Led to a string of flops in the 60s.
Studios got wary, critics were ruthless. Looked like his career was going down the tubes.
But he still did some interesting stuff during that time. Reflections in a Golden Eye. A gay military officer, can you believe that?
Pretty ballsy for back then.
Especially for a guy known for being a heartthrob. But then comes The Godfather, and everything changes.
When Coppola cast him as Don Corleone, people thought he was insane.
Brando was box office poison at that point. The studio execs must flip their lids.
They hated the idea. Brando was notorious for tanking productions, but Coppola, he saw something in Brando.
So Coppola went to bat for him.
Put his whole career on the line. Even got Brando to do a screen test, which was unheard of for a star like him.
Wait, Brando did a screen test? Like a nobody.
Coppola knew how to play him. Got him cheap, too.
How'd he pull that off?
Brando knew he needed a comeback. Agreed to a low salary and a percentage of the profits. Turned out to be a pretty sweet deal for him.
Smart move. So Brando goes from washed-up has-been to back on top.
The performance revitalized his career and snagged him his second Oscar.
He was incredible as Don Corleone. The voice, the mannerisms, the goddamn cotton balls in his cheeks.
It's like he became the Don.
But then he refused the award. Sent Sachin Littlefeather to protest Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans. What a badass.
That was Brandon all over, never afraid to make a statement.
So he was a total rebel, on screen and off.
A force of nature when it came to activism, civil rights, Native American rights, environmentalism. He was all over it.
And let's not forget, Last Tango in Paris. That movie caused a shitstorm. The sex scenes were intense.
People lost their minds over it. Talk about pushing boundaries.
And his personal life was just as wild. Tons of partners, a whole brood of kids.
At least 11 from what we know.
11 kids. Holy shit. The man got around. And those rumors about his sexuality.
He never denied them. Even said he'd had homosexual experiences. Wasn't ashamed of it. Pretty damn bold for that time.
Yeah, no kidding. But then he went and made those messed up comments about Jews in Hollywood.
Yeah, that was fucked up. Tried to backpedal later, but the damage was done.
Hard to square that with his social justice activism.
A reminder that even our heroes are flawed.
So the later years of his career were a mixed bag. Some good roles, some real stinkers, but he always kept swinging.
Yeah, his talent never faded. He had this presence, this intensity that was undeniable.
Then in 2004, it all came to an end. Brando dies, leaving behind a legacy that's still debated today.
He changed the game, influenced acting, fashion, even the way we think about rebellion.
So was Marlon Brando a genius or a jerk?
An
An artist or a provocateur?
Probably a bit of both. That's what makes him so fascinating. Brando was a paradox, and that's what keeps us talking about him, even today.
Okay, so we've covered Brando the actor, the rebel, the activist. But what about Brando the lover? The man was a goddamn magnet for beautiful women.
Yeah, his love life was a whirlwind, man. 3 marriages, Anna Kashfi, Movida Castaneda, and Tarita Tiripea.
Hold up, 3 wives. Didn't we say he had like a dozen kids too?
At least 11, including some he adopted. And his romantic escapades, hoo boy. He was linked to some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Marilyn Monroe, Rita Moreno.
No shit. Brando and Marilyn. Now that's a couple I'd love to see.
He talks about it all in his autobiography, Songs My Mother Taught Me.
He spills the tea.
Oh, yeah. Romances, struggles, his personal demons. Doesn't hold back.
Except when it comes to his family, right?
Yeah.
Barely mentions his wives and kids in the book.
True. Craved privacy, even with this crazy public life. A recluse who is a sex symbol. A rebel who is deeply sensitive.
A walking, talking contradiction.
The man was an enigma. But you can't deny his impact. He changed the way actors approach their craft. Before Brando, it was all theatrical, you know? Project your voice, hit your marks.
Big dramatic gestures, the whole shebang.
Then Brando comes along and blows it all up. He brought this raw, natural style to the screen, a realness that nobody had seen before. He was a pioneer of method acting.
And his influence is still felt today. Think De Niro, Pacino, all those guys.
They all owe a debt to Brando.
And it wasn't just acting. He became a fashion icon, that whole Wild One look. The leather jacket, the jeans, the attitude.
He was the original bad boy.
A cultural phenomenon, a symbol of everything that was cool and dangerous and exciting about that time.
He had his flaws, his demons, but the man was a genius, a force of nature.
No doubt about it. Marlon Brando was one of the most gifted actors to ever grace the screen. He could convey a whole universe of emotion with just a look.
A master of his craft.
So there you have it, a glimpse into the life of Marlon Brando. The rebel, the icon, the enigma, a man of contradictions, a flawed genius who left his mark on Hollywood and our culture. What would Hollywood be without him?
A hell of a lot less interesting, that's for sure. He was a true original.
And that's what makes him so damn fascinating. We might never fully understand him, but that's part of his allure. He keeps us guessing, keeps us talking.
Marlon Brando, ladies and gentlemen. The legend lives on.